Good morning and welcome to the Beef and Barnzy Show. And this one we have a special one as usual. I am Barnzy and I'm joined by internet personality and the brains of this operation, Beef Stew. How are you this morning?
I'm spectacular. I'm not quite as good as Josie, but yeah, pretty great. For Chris, because we usually have to. This is the $100,000 pyramid. That's why Tina's done it. You know, popular culture and all. But yeah, it's great to be a Barnes. That really should be. It's great to be a Josie, but you know.
That's probably closer to the truth.
Before we just get Josie in, man, your Weber Cup team's getting old.
We aged slightly. We also picked up a few LBs, but you know, who are you to judge?
I'm not judging at all. I'm just happy that, you know, I'm not the only 40-year-old on the show now.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Now there's two. That is true. But yeah, Tom Doherty was announced as a Weber Cup participant, and so
oldest Weber Cup debutant.
Probably so.
Has to be.
I would think. I would think so. Well, we talked about a little bit the other day about the U.S. Open, but we are now blessed to have the Woman of the Week, the month, well, maybe the decade now. So I will get right to it. So let's see. She's been on Junior Team USA 5 times, Team USA 9 times. She's been an All-American as a player. She's been Coach of the Year. She's coached national championships. She's won national championships. Now she's won national majors, and including $100,000 just a couple nights ago. So with no further ado, we will now bring on the better Barnes, Josie Barnes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. It was a lot of fun to watch the other night.
Well, thanks. It was mostly fun to participate. A little nerve-wracking too.
Yeah, I wish.
What changed? Now you've been in a lot of title matches. What was different about that bowling for $100,000 versus, or was that part of it at all?
Honestly, and I've said this a couple of times, it wasn't really the money. Obviously, the money's very nice, and I'm really appreciative. But my season had been so terrible that I really just wanted to leave feeling like I was respectable. And so, you know, getting to a place where I qualified as the leader, I've actually never been in that position before. I've never been the 1 seed in any event as a professional. So that was more nerve-wracking to me than anything else, especially bowling for my first major, because I wasn't really sure how to handle it. Like, you know, what do you do while everyone else is bowling? Like, I don't want to practice the entire time, but I also don't want to just sit and watch people strike for days. You know, like, how do I stay focused? Because I've almost always come from the first match to win my titles.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do feel like you're like what they call in Europe the silent striker. Like, you now have 4 PWBA titles, but if I was to ask quite a few people how many you had, I'm not sure that many people would pick 4. Why do you think that is? Like, you know, you have 4 more. You know, you have more titles. I believe now you might have more titles than a lot of people. Shannon Powerski being the obvious one. That's one of the more amazing stats when they flash that up and it says she has 1 PWBA title.
Yeah, I mean, there are probably a lot of things that go into that. I'm not like super boisterous, but I also don't feel like I have a super flashy game. You know, I'm not a Daria or someone who my rev rate's, you know, twice what mine really is. So I have my game plan, you know, like I'm very simple. I guess maybe in some ways a little bit old school. And I just kind of do my job. If I strike 4 times a game, I feel like I should be at least at 2 team. But for some people, it takes a lot more than that.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, like I say, I mean, it's just been I feel like you're really good on the TV shows or whatever they want to call them, the live streams. I feel like you're able to stay in the moment, and your game is simple is the wrong word. It's solid. You know what I mean? It doesn't. The pressure of the shots doesn't like break down your swing.
Yeah, it holds up to stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of that is I've just always been a very competitive person, and so I feel like I thrive in those match play settings. You know, when it comes to knocking down the most pins, in some ways I think I get distracted sometimes because it's not as exciting as getting in there and doing the head-to-head battle. So I always feel like if I can get to that TV show, I feel pretty good about what I'm doing.
So on the show, you started off, and it was funny. We were watching the show. I was watching it with Nathan because I bowl league on a Tuesday night with Nathan and Maria. Maria decided to take the night off, but me and Nathan were watching it, and Sherry looked like, she looked about as lost as I'd be when my phone switches off and I've got no GPS. She really had no idea what she was doing. Like, she really was struggling. And you started with a double, and then Sherry doubled. And I told Nathan, I go, worst thing Josie could have done. If she'd have started 9 spare, 7 spare, Sherry would still be super nervous. And it was almost like you heard us, because then your next 2 or 3 shots, it looked like that ball was, you used a different ball the first 2 frames.
Yeah, I think it was my speed. So Sean and I actually had this conversation before going into that game, and I said, Sean, we know that my tendency is once I get comfortable, my speed starts to pick up. And in some ways, it was like the best worst thing that could happen that I started with the double, because I was like, all right, I'm good. And then the next one was a little faster, and the next one was a little faster, and I'm like, and you know, I know my keys to trying to slow that down, but I'm also bowling for the freaking US Open. You know, like it's not as simple as just telling myself to tone it down. So we kind of had a game plan going into that of like, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. And so that's why it was pretty easy to make the call to go to the UFO alert after that, because it wasn't getting any slower than that. And that's actually what happened on the fill ball, because I knew count was really important, and I was trying to talk myself through it, but I could like see my hand just shaking. And most of my good shots on that pair, if you had looked up at the screen, it said that I was about 16.2 to 16.5 on their reader. And that last one was 18.3. So it was I was wanting it.
Yeah. I mean,
because I looked right up when I came back, and I looked at it, and I'm like,
an important thing to note is
I don't know if I've ever thrown a shot 18.3.
The what?
I said, I don't know that I've ever thrown a shot 18.3 until that one. That one was just through the back of the building.
Well, to be fair, it also said I was throwing at 22.5 miles an hour at one point on one of those shows. And the last time that happened was, well, it didn't start, the age didn't start with a 5, I guarantee that, or a 4. So,
I was just going to say, it's interesting that you talk about the pressure for the US Open, because when we were actually watching in the bowling center, I'll be honest, as a fan, I had no concept that it was the US Open. Like the fact that you guys were bowling for $100,000 and that a lady's never won $100,000 in the United States ever. Like they showed that the highest prizes ever was $55,000 on the show. For me, that was kind of the thing. And like when you and Sherry ended up bowling against each other, I really would have been sad if either one of you would have had the reaction that Powerski had in like the previous game. You know what I mean? Because it was at times it was compelling, and at times it was like, oh my God, I can't watch, because like both of you looked so lost in the middle of the game. So did you feel like the crowd was thinking more about, like, I mean, it's hard to talk to them, but like for Kyle, for example, was he thinking about the US Open, or was he thinking about, oh my God, they're bowling for like $50,000?
I really think he was thinking about the money. I think he was thinking about the money because especially the night before. So if you're talking pre the TV show, going into the position round, I knew I needed to beat Sherry by a decent amount to take that top seed. But I wasn't trying to do exact math, especially because we hit a pair that I had bowled like trash on right before. Like I just wanted to stay in my lane. And so, after I struck out, I turned around and looked at him, and he was doing the fist bump, and I'm like, oh, that must mean I've secured a certain dollar amount at that point.
That's funny. Yeah, because if I ever bowl a position round that's going to be worth $20,000, I'd really like it if the person I bowled only struck in the first frame. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Poor Sherry.
Yeah.
Regina, who follows you, obviously, the life of Lisa Ruth, which for those of you that don't know is your daughter, is going to get even more exciting. And
yeah, that's the first thing my sister said. So they sent me a video of Sherry's last shot because they had a little watch party at our house, and after my sister got up off the floor because she collapsed. She said, Lisa Ruth, you're going to have a really nice birthday party because her birthday's in October.
Oh, nice. So in the chat, she's looking for ideas, probably not looking to spend, all 100,000 of it, but, and any good options?
No, I told Curtis that I was going to buy myself a really nice pair of sneakers because I like sneakers. That's a me and Kyle and Sean Ryan thing, I guess. But I was like, I'm going to find the pair that I want, and I'm going to spoil myself. But nothing too big yet. I'm sure Kyle spent it 6 different ways already. But
oh yeah, trust me. We were me and my wife were having a similar conversation because we're selling our house in Phoenix, and we were having a conversation about what we we're going to get, and I was like, yes, Tina's into this. She goes, yeah, we're going to get something each, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And then Tina goes, yeah, I'm going to buy a handbag that I wouldn't normally buy. And I'm like, oh.
That's actually, that was
spend an extra
coming into this week. Yeah, coming into, well, you can spend an extra $0 on a handbag, let me tell you. Coming into this week, because my season had been so crummy, and Kyle and I were talking, and he's like, just go out and win this darn thing. And I'm like, come on, like, really, like, let's be realistic. He goes, listen, if you win this thing, I'll let you buy any Louis V you want. And I'm like, any? Any? Like, are you retracting that now? Like, were you only saying that because you thought it was gonna end crummy? But
so, outside of sneakers, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, I made a deal once with Linda the same way. She we got married, had a 1-night, 2-night honeymoon, and then drove to Connecticut for the U.S. Open. And we were going to get a car, and we were looking around at used cars. I said, well, if you make the show, I'll buy you a new one. At the time, I'm in like 5th, and she's in like 30th. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But so fast forward 4 days later, she's now the leader, and I missed the show, and yeah, she got a brand new car. So yeah, she wasn't believing that was the deal either. It was you're motivated far more by money than I think any of us guys ever knew. You slide it well.
I guess so.
So I was just gonna say, so outside of sneakers, what's Kyle's like? What's he looking for? Is he measuring up for like whether you can fit the 85-inch TV or the 75-inch TV or?
No, bigger than that. What he wants, the first thing he said to me was, "Can I get my G-Wagon now?" I said, no. No.
Just sign the check over. It's all good.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so.
I was about to say, if he wants the G-Wagon, you better figure out a way to get the time off to go back to Reno in October.
No kidding. No kidding. Like, yeah, I don't know.
No.
So for those of our viewers who don't know, you actually can't bowl in October now because you've got to work the season. So what is your role?
So my kids' cleat is. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what is your role? What do you do for like? Imagine there'll be new Josie Barnes.
Yeah, so I'm the associate head coach here at Vandy. Our collegiate season starts October 1st, and we normally start traveling about the third weekend of October. So we're just starting to get into the thick of our season and really getting prepared going into that. So it's just really difficult to get away at that time of year.
Do you want to let me just show you something that's going to bring a smile to your face? Just 1 second.
Oh boy!
No, this will bring a smile. Look at that.
Oh,
yeah.
I said you can see how crummy my season actually was, because if you take out the last event, I was treading water.
But nobody cares about that right now. You're, I believe you're leading earnings by $56,225. So I believe the phrase that you could use at that point is "suck it, bitches."
Oh, when we bowl doubles together, I can't tell you how many times I heard that exact phrase from Josie. It's your go-to. Yeah. I'm kidding, of course.
Sounds accurate.
In case the NCAA is watching, that was a joke.
So
I didn't even know 4-letter words, so it's a
she's an angel.
To myself.
So I said I was going to ask you this. Do you think that the main turning point in your season was that your sister taking one for the team and moving her wedding date, at your request, so you didn't have to bowl the doubles with Barnes?
Yeah, I think that was really the turning point. It took some convincing, but I just told her that I really didn't feel like bowling with Chris this year, so we moved her wedding.
It certainly looked like it was a financially good decision.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, just got my mind right.
I wish I had anything there that I could go, well, yeah, no, you're right.
You're doing
you picked up a pretty good partner there.
Yeah. I became weight training for her as well. She we bowled together. We missed the cut, and then she went out and led the next week. And so I guess there was one common denominator.
Well, fun story with this, Josie. So me, Dom, and Barnes were traveling around for the summer swing together. I was driving. The three of us were traveling up to Ohio and wherever, in Jonesboro, whatever. And we're watching the ladies bowl in Dallas. So I bowl with Birgit. She won. Barnes bowls with Dasher. Did she win, or did she win one? She made the show.
She led.
Right. And then on top of that, Dom bowled with Diana, and she made.
Okay.
At one point they were 1, 2, and 3 in the tournament. So we were just like, man, we're like the training tool, right? And now the fourth member of this whole deal, you, who were supposed to bowl with Chris, now you're bowling great and winning the big
people are going to be fighting over you guys.
Yeah, I mean
that's what's going to happen. They're going to fight.
It's number one sale, trick in sales. It's just a loss leader. You throw it out there.
Right.
Okay, well, if I can survive this, I can survive anything. And then, and it's just not.
Just get your mind right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what Verity had to do with anything, but she bowled great. So, but we're just going to pull that in that she's English and we're English. So that's.
Yeah, there you go.
Linda says, you looked great in green. Congratulations. So happy for you and the family. Lisa Ruth is going to love watching Mummy win.
Thanks, Linda.
And ladies overcome. Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. Ironically, after...
Nope.
Uh-uh.
No, there's no relation, Dylan.
No. As a matter of fact, you're still... I've actually known you long enough. You're still in my phone as Josie Ernest. I just realized it the other day.
I don't. Once people are in my phones, once girls are in my phone as their maiden name, they never change.
Well,
So don't
for
change
fun
it.
times, Rick Benoit still has me in his phone as Stu Stickney. So
I like that.
so sounds like money and Barnes are a common denominator. There you go. So you've got the schedule coming up. How long is the NCAA bowling? What's it look like for you?
Yeah, so in some ways I'm pretty lucky because we start October 1st, and pre them putting the stuff in October and January, I was actually able to complete a whole PWBA season because our collegiate season would end like a week and a half before the PWBA season started. So I pretty much just never stopped traveling because as soon as one ends, the next one begins.
Yeah.
So in some ways it's really nice. It's also very exhausting too.
Yeah, definitely.
For those that don't know, what's left in the PWBA season?
So there's just the swing in October, which is I think 2 standard events, and then they added the major at the end, which is really cool because going into this season, we thought we only had 2 majors. So adding the third one is unfortunately I can't be there, but it's cool for the women who can be.
And there's no way around that where you'd be able to get to that now?
I don't think so. No, maybe in the future, but with COVID and everything going on, it's just safer if I don't risk missing more than I have to.
What kind of protocols do you have to go through there within NCAA with the team?
Yeah, so it's ever changing and it's really school by school. So like right now I'm vaccinated, so I just have to wear a mask on campus and when we travel. And I think once we get to tournaments, it will be state by state or whatever the tournament decides to do. But like last season, it was very structured. So our kids were testing anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week. And we had to keep everyone separate, and our practices were very small. So it's just evolving all the time, depending on what it looks like.
You guys wore masks on the show. Was that a USBC thing or a California thing?
California. We got word a couple days maybe before we left that it was going to be a thing that we needed to wear masks the entire time, which in some ways, we did it at the beginning of the season, so it wasn't like out of left field. It was a little hot on the show because even though they were using LED lights, which are supposed to be, not as hot, it still gets hot. So there was
that. Does that to you?
Yeah,
Don't worry about
right. But it was fine.
It's actually, yeah, I wonder about that. I mean, and I know it's different from place to place, but we're headed to Brentwood next week, and
okay.
From what my understanding is that it's basically the same as it was for us last year, which was in the building with mask, and then on the approach you could take it off. So
yeah,
I wonder if that was a USBC thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of what they did before with us, is that they didn't rescind it for on the approach,
right?
In other places, but nonetheless,
and the girls are good about it. The girls are good about it. I didn't hear anybody really complain.
Yeah. I think when it goes to what Stu's saying, though, you guys are bowling for a lot of money, but because you can't see anything below their eyes, you miss out on some of the expressiveness and a lot of the tension that goes on with the event. It's really difficult to tell just where somebody's at sometimes with all that. But
well, if you listened at all, I talk to myself a lot when I bowl, like kind of psycho. But there was one Kyle went back and watched my game last night when we got home, and it was the second double that I threw, the second shot. It was like the really light mixer, and I let go of it, and you can just hear me go, "Oh, like come on, Jokes!" But somehow it found a way back. So that was really the only way you could tell.
I was surprised you threw the X2 to start with as much oil as there was in the lane. I thought your patterns for the U.S. Open were very similar to our patterns, and that third pattern was pretty slick. And the fact that you were the furthest left of everybody and throwing a much shinier ball than everybody, What was behind
Right. So
how that happened?
yeah, I think the X2. So we drilled that the night before, and that was a Sean, Matt, Jim idea. And I think that was just in case the fronts blew open, because it was very tricky pair to pair, because some of the fronts would get really nasty. So we just wanted to kind of have that in the bag. I did use shinier balls than most, but where I was playing on the TV show was not really how I was attacking them through match play. I felt like through match play I was super comfortable, because I was almost just over my toe, like just throw it at the pocket and try to use some of that hold, because my ball was not hooking from the right. But once we got to the TV show, we saw that it was picking up just enough that we felt like I needed to get in there a little bit. And so that was just the decision behind that. And it looked good when I was slow and just rolling it off my hand. But as soon as I started to mock speed it,
yeah, well, I mean, you have great speed control in your rotation. Let's get through the front. And, there's rev rate and there's effective rev rate. Like Pete's rev rate actually isn't high, right, but his rev rate at the back of the lane looks gigantic. And you downplay your rev rate, which is higher than I think, you make it sound like it's lower than it really is. But your rev rate at the back end of the lane is quite big, which is one of the reasons why you bowl really well when you bowl with the guys as well, because you can get the ball through the front and still make it hit, and that's certainly a skill set. Yeah, I thought that ball went really long, but like you said, with all the adrenaline and everything else, it's always hard. You can't see practice shots, and so you don't know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, my thought was to watch Diana throw that ball that looked like it had about 360 grit on it, and I thought,
yeah, she used quite a bit of surface.
She'll be able to use that. When a ball looks dull on TV, by the way, just so you know,
it's dull.
It's dull, because your X2.
Oh, I know. What was that?
Did the X2? Did you knock the shine off of that, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like it was out of the box shiny.
Yeah, we hit it at like 2000. Yeah. Yeah, we were actually joking about that before we went out on the show, because I was talking about the first title that I won, and talking about the speed control. And the first title I won in Rochester, we were warming up, and at that time I was with Ebonite, and Rob Gottschall was my ball rep, and he's like, "Josh, you got to slow it down." And I'm like, "No, Rob, you got to slow it down. This is how I'm throwing it. I'm nervous as crap. Like, you have to slow it down for me." And so he hit it, and I ended up winning. And I came back afterwards, and I was like, "What did you put on that ball? It's hard to tell with the lights and all of that." And he's like, "Jost, that was 360." And I'm like, "Okay, you definitely slowed that ball down."
you sound just like Dom. Dom once told Gottschall at the US Open, he goes, "Your swing's getting really steep," Gottschall told him. And Dom goes, "Well, find me a ball that'll give me a flat spot."
Yeah. No, well, hang on. It was my first one. I'm like, I can't manipulate here. Like, this is what we're going with.
I love that and I think that's part of the success. You own who you are, what you're feeling, and what you know what you do best, and so you can play those strengths versus, "Oh no, I'm not really nervous." Meanwhile, you see people and guys, and I think lots of us have done it over time. Of you don't want to be that way, so you try to pretend you're not, instead of just owning it and working with it. And no, I definitely was. I actually told Sean, I was like, all day leading up to the show at the US Open, I actually felt okay. I'm like, I obviously know what's at stake, but I'm all right. Like, I'm not overthinking it at this point. And then he came down with about 5 frames to go in the semifinal match to tell me when he was going to come get me. And I said, "Okay, Sean, now I'm nervous." I'm like, here we are. Like, I'm feeling it now. And I'm like, I'll be fine. I need to acknowledge that I'm excited about this. And I've always said, like, there's a difference, like, people get psyched out by being nervous or having that anxiety, but I've always felt like it's a privilege. I'm like, how cool is it that I get to be nervous about being the number 1 seed at the US Open? Like, what's the worst thing that happens? I finish second. Cool. Okay. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, yeah.
All right.
For perspective, you were saying how your season was really bad. Yeah, if you came second, you'd have still been second in earnings for the season.
I like it.
So just to give people who've been watching the show some perspective on the women's prize funds, like just in general, and how huge this was. Sherry Tan is now clear in third, and she is only $325 behind Liz, and she's only bowled one event. No, sorry, she bowled two. She bowled the one before.
Yeah, but I don't think she cashed.
No, she did not.
Yeah.
She has 50,000 even.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a huge thing. You've actually gained the nickname on the rat on what are they called? Sweep the Rack. You are Josie Big Bag Barnes. So you are now JBBB.
BBB.
I'll accept that.
Yeah. So during the week, the US Open now has the deal where they put out scoring pace wise, they put out something kind of medium, then they put out something kind of impossible, then they put out something that's fairly soft, and then they kind of go back to it being like medium to soft. That's kind of the way it's been the last few US Opens for the guys. It's kind of the route that they went with you. Do you like that? Like, I mean, obviously you do with the result, but like just in general, with it being like one day it's one way, and then the next day it's like it really didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I think it gives different styles of players different opportunities. Like, obviously, the first day was supposed to be medium scoring. I went 130 under. So it's all perspective, right? You know, to me, it's more about understanding pace of score and making decisions based off of that, you know, because I feel like I'm really good when they're hard. So that piece doesn't scare me, but I've also won titles when the scores are really high. So I think that the players are good enough out on tour that they're going to figure it out regardless of what the scoring pace is.
Yeah, I guess for me that the only part of it that I don't really like is if you bowl really well day 2, it's nowhere near as important as if you bowl really well day 3, because you just can't get as many pins. It's like impossible. And
yeah, they are hard.
Sherry Tan was a great example of that. Like, she's obviously been bowling fairly well. You know, with one game to go, she was leading the US Open.
Right.
But she shot 487 more from day 3 as opposed to day 2. Like, to me, that's just ludicrous. Like, in a tournament, like, how is that even a thing?
60 pins more.
It was a lot, and she actually bowled to the right of me all through qualifying, and at the back of that big set that she had, I didn't get to see the last game, I guess, because she had flipped ends and I was down at the other end. But I'm like, she did it so quietly. Like, I don't know how you score that high and be that quiet about it, but I had no idea until I looked at the sheet, because I felt pretty good about what I did that day, and I was like, holy crap, like, it's nothing compared to what she just did. Like, we're not even in the same ballpark.
And she shot 407 for the first 2 games. And then
I know. I was there.
Over. It was just, I mean, I think it's a lefty thing though, because the same thing, on a really small scale, the event we bowled this weekend, Jacob was 100 out of the cut. We bowled 4 games on the second pattern. He was leading. What? Like, a right-hander just doesn't do that. It's like,
yeah, it's definitely different.
Linda says, you mean she wasn't slapping him out?
You're not wrong.
we were just discussing a story, and I'm gonna betray my wife's confidence, but you and her bowled in Vegas a long time ago, I believe at the Queens, and you were like fresh out of college, so you know you were throwing them out and you were slapping them out, and you give she was being nice, and you go.
I do give hard high fives.
She was like, I'm your opponent, not your teammate.
I was just so jacked to be bowling with her. Seriously.
Again, against, not with.
With, against, whatever. At that time, it felt like with. I made a shirt many years ago, and it just had like my favorite female bowlers of all time, and Linda's actually one of them on my shirt. So I was just probably super excited.
So what you're really saying is if Linda had married, somebody with a different name, Kyle would be out.
Oh, right.
High five your face.
To Neil.
So yeah, I mean, so anyway, during the week, what balls did you go through?
All of them.
Yeah, exactly. But what were the ones that you found like I guess maybe the most success with?
I would say the one that I used definitely hands down the most was the UFO alert, and I had two of them. I had a pin up one and a pin down one, and it probably came into play the most. I also had a dark code that I liked, but shoot, I'm trying to think back. We're just going to forget the first day because it was just so terrible and I know I went through all of them, but I would say those three were the three most used.
Everybody keeps coming on and telling us the UFO alerts the ball. Me and Barnes we need to get on the page. We need to just keep drilling until I've got one now that I quite like, but not as much as my wife. Every time I talk to my wife about bowling, she's like, "Did you throw the UFO alert? Did you throw the UFO alert?" And I go, "No." Well, why do you think you suck? So Linda says, "Oh, I'm crying. The daughter I always wanted." Oh dear. Emmanuel says, "Congrats, Josie, fabulous win. You buying the coffees?"
Oh yeah, sure. Like that 100 grand is going to go really quick for all the people that want a beer or a beverage or a coffee or whatever. Like the number of texts.
Well, it's funny. My board was going to read, "Hey Josie, can I borrow $20?" But Tina took it to a bit more of a new level. Stu, did you talk to your therapist about Jacob beating you this past weekend? No, it was okay. Financially, it worked out okay. I got over it very quickly. I'm used to losing, so as long as I win financially, I don't care. Well, I mean, now you're a major champion. Are you going to do what I told Frankie? Like, so when Frankie won the US Open, like Frankie's like, he's like the quietest guy, but really he's running everybody over. Like he does it quietly, but he's quite, he's quite cutting. So I said to Frankie, I said, "Man, if I won the US Open, I'd have every roll call. I'd be like, man, is it hot in here? No, maybe it's just this green jacket." Like strolling up and go, "Can I use this seat? I need somewhere to put my jacket." So we were just laughing about that with Frankie, like just stroll into every roll call. So,
well, now he needs two seats.
Well, so. No, that's moves on. So his latest one was, he goes, "Oh man." So it took Frankie forever to get his green jacket. And we were amazed because the green jacket they actually had on the show would look like it was a fairly decent fit for you. Because usually they have one that's like
right
this big, and it's just like, well, it took Frankie about 2 years to get his first green jacket. So he was going to get the next one tailored for his girlfriend. And then they were going to sit on the couch and do Netflix and chill.
That's awesome.
But you could do what Frankie did for me. He had he walked around with a chamois that said 2-time US Open champion. And I said, "But Frankie, that's a roto grit one." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Have you got a pen?" And he took the 2 and he made it a 0. So then I had a chamois that said 0-time US Open champion. So just hand those out. That's just some of the ideas that Frankie went with once he had a US Open.
That sounds like something I do.
Yeah, no. Just be like, "Oh man, my favorite color is green. What about you?" And
actually, it is one of my favorites.
Kyle's favorite color is green as well, but he's talking about something completely different.
True.
So you moved over to Storm, pandemic year, right?
Yes.
So has
Correct.
that been like a bit of a weird transition with the balls? Because obviously they're quite a bit different than the Hopkinsville balls had been. And do you think that contributed a little bit to like, getting used to bowling with different equipment and stuff?
Yeah, I do think that's part of it. Especially going back to like talking about the Vanderbilt situation with COVID, I was under some pretty strict guidelines, I guess, in that like we were told our kids could not enter a bowling center if we weren't competing. So like they couldn't go bowl side tournaments on the weekends, which really meant that I shouldn't be doing it either, right? Like they're trying to control the environment. So when I made that switch during the pandemic, I really only got to throw the balls that I was drilling where we practice at. And so, like I said, everything looks really good on lane 2 at the rec center, but that was literally all I was able to do up until I left for tour in April. And so in some ways that was kind of a shock because, I wasn't able to get out and see different lane surfaces, oil, the whole works. And so it was definitely a learning curve. I think it was a good one. Part of the thing that I struggled with, and I talked to Matt and Steve Jacobs about a lot when we were out on tours, I'm like, there are just too many good ones. Like, I don't know, like I'm starting to get a little confused because I think these are similar. And then, I'll make the wrong call or I wait too long. And so it was difficult, but it was nice to be able to work through it with all of the ball reps we had over the summer, just trying to figure out what works for me and what I should stay away from.
I mean, here's your real chance. What's the most irritating thing about Steve Jacobs?
The most irritating thing. Steve's too nice.
Oh, come on.
Is that all to be the irritating thing? No, seriously, we have this conversation. I'm like, part of the reason why I work so well with Sean Ryan is he is like direct and to the point. Like he will just tell me, like,
no,
Jokes, get your
not
and
Sean.
Steve's like, Jokes, like maybe we should just, and I'm like, Steve, shoot it to me straight. Like just tell me.
Yeah, it's frame 6 and you've thrown it like shit 4 times.
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm probably the right time to change the ball.
Like, just tell me.
So, all right. So you probably haven't heard this, talking about Steve. So Steve came out on tour, and originally when he came out on the men's tour, he was basically Barnes' ball rep, right? Because Global didn't really have anybody on staff, and he was the global guy.
Right.
So it was a time in which Chris was finding it very easy to stick and walk down the lane because with the orange heels, Chris is a little delicate. And you turn around and you'd be like, holy shit, Barnes is at the arrows again. And I mean, it probably happened like 6 times, probably. Like where he'd stick and walk. And the thing that was most amazing about it is Chris's swing is so straight that like a large proportion of those were still online. Like if I stick, like apart from the fact that I'll probably fall and there'll be a hole in the lane, like it probably isn't staying online. So Chris, we were bowling in Tulsa, right? And Steve was getting a little frustrated by Chris being like sizzled, shall we say. So Chris had a thing for a little while. I think he's realized how expensive it is. The glasses toss. So we'd all be looking around for Chris. He'd get his glasses and he'd like throw them onto a table or whatever. And we're bowling one of those centers that's got the flat Brunswick tables. So anyway, Chris has like pitched these glasses and they've skipped off the table and they've landed right by Steve's feet, right? So Barnes shoots the spare, right? And Steve comes to tell us this story. So Lucas Wiseman's trotting his ass through the seating area, and Steve goes, "Stop!" And he points at the ground, and Lucas steps over the glasses, right? So anyway, Barnes walks back. He's a little pissed off. He's made the spare without his glasses on, and then the next minute is like, and Barnes looks at the glasses, and he stood on the leg or whatever. So he picks it up and he goes, I understand it was my fault, but you could have picked them up.
It's not like I can see them. Like,
So Steve at that point just turned and walked away. And he comes to me, and of course, I was having a really good week. I think it might have been on the bear pattern. I was leading. He comes to me and he goes, "Not here to help, just here to tell you the greatest story ever."
Oh,
So
really funny.
of course, I was bowling next to Bill O'Neill. So Bill's there, and Bill, anything that like bad like that happens to Chris, Bill finds like hilarious. And he goes, "That has to be the most Chris thing ever." He goes, "Being completely in the wrong, admitting it, and still bitching to the guy that he could have helped him out." I understand it was my fault, but you could have picked them up.
Or maybe just stop me from standing on them. Yeah.
But that's
He wasn't wrong. He goes, "It's not my job to pick them." Yes, I understand that. I get it. But I can't see them. Like,
oh shit. So anyway, that's our best Steve Jacobs story, because outside of drinking beer afterwards, he's always nice to everybody. So but that was the one time he kind of did back. Oh dear. Linda says Josie has the best laugh ever. Chris owns his wrongs.
Yeah, eventually. So before this, what would you say was your? And you have a lot to pick from. What was your top 3 best moments?
Rick Benoit, just before you go, says, "I don't remember Chris being like that."
I mean, Rick, this is how
like
you get
just in bowling in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, top 3 moments outside of this. I would say probably number 1 would be probably my first title, because that's the thing that you like work for your entire life. I would say second would actually be coaching our 2018 team to an NCAA championship, because that was one of the things when I took this job. I said, I will not leave this job unless they force me to, until we win at least one. So, I mean, I'm still here, so obviously that number shifted, but that would, to help those girls achieve a lifelong dream. Like at that point, I wasn't a parent, but I could only imagine that was what it felt like at that time. So that one's definitely up there. And then I would say the third was my win in Cleveland, because at that time, no one knew I was pregnant with Lisa Ruth. I hadn't announced it yet. And so I knew that season was going to look a little funny for me. I didn't know how long I would be able to bowl. And it turns out it was a really terrible season, because that's, when my mother passed away, but it was the last chance that she, for her to see me win. And it was special knowing that we had something special coming on the way.
Yeah, 8 months pregnant. That was the last excuse you used to not bowl with me too. You go to tremendous lengths and plan.
I wasn't 8 yet. No, that was after my mom's accident. But you're right. Yeah, because I actually bowled. Yeah, I actually bowled up until I was 7.5 months pregnant, and I bowled the final major. Like, I could barely walk, and I still I tried to give it a run. But
so in the chat, if people could come up with another couple of plausible excuses that Josie could have to let Chris down gently, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
What will it be this year?
Sister's wedding's out. Hopefully at that point, COVID isn't a thing, but maybe Kyle will catch COVID.
Yeah, the sister have to get divorced and remarried all inside of a year. That's a tough turnaround.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll be into that.
And Chris already knows that your daughter's birthday is now in October, so you can't use that as an excuse.
Yes, I can't say it's her birthday.
Although I am a guy and I probably lose track, so to be fair, if Facebook didn't exist, I wouldn't know who's anybody's birthday is. So, This is not an unfair question, although it's been a significant amount of time since that's happened now.
He had to pay for a pair, and fair play to Chris. Chris is cheaper than he is angry.
But the answer is 2. I have a backup pair with me now all the time.
I think that Tony asked a pretty good question here. Which would be harder for you, bowling with Kyle or bowling with Chris?
Kyle. Are you kidding? I don't have to go home with Chris at night.
There's that.
Yeah.
That's
a win for you anyway, says Linda. That should come in pretty soon.
Russell's come up with the best excuse to not bowl with Chris. Just be honest, Chris. I can't bowl with you. You're dead weight.
Yeah. There's another one. Maybe she says, I want to bowl someone. I don't want to bowl the over under 50. Not bad.
She's going to say, Chris, it's not me, it's you. Charlie says, but if we bowl together, how would we know whose turn it is to bowl when you both have Barnes in the machine?
Yeah.
All right, Josie. Well, we've managed to rattle round to 52 minutes on this, and I understand that you're at work. So, do you have anybody to thank? I'm sure you do for your
everyone. Yeah, I mean, and that's the crummiest part. You get so excited in those moments. I didn't even get to thank anybody. I'm standing up there and I'm like, shoot, like you see all these people do it, and it's it looks like they're with it, and I'm like, I was just so. My emotions were everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I think big time on USBC and BPA for investing in the tournament, not just for us, but on the men's side too. You guys with the Masters and the men's US Open, obviously Storm, Vice, Coolwick, they've been awesome sponsors for me. And then my friends and family, they've been super supportive, especially with Lisa Ruth. When I'm away, somebody has to kind of help pick up what I'm leaving at home, and that's a big deal. And then I guess lastly, I feel really, really fortunate to have a job that allows me to still compete. If they weren't so supportive of, not only just me following my dreams and being able to still compete at a high level, but also allowing me to encourage and help young women follow theirs, I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing. So I'm always super grateful for them.
Well, you did a good job then of coming up with everybody. Yeah. I'm frantically trying to find it because what I'm going to do is we're going to give away a Josie Barnes t-shirt.
Oh, cool.
And I'm trying to bring
I'm wearing one today.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can find your jerseys. I'm struggling to find your t-shirts.
I think yeah.
Cool apparel. We're flat. We're
stand up a little bit. We'll see what do you got?
Yeah. See.
Eat, sleep, strike, repeat. There you go.
Sorry, my office is crazy today. My girls surprised me. They decorated it all, so I've got
that's a pretty good kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Another couple answers. Sorry, Chris. Josie can't bowl with her green jacket. Hasn't come back from cleaners yet.
So if you go on coolweight.com and you go over to the Be Cool crew and you can have a look at the women's stuff, we've got, so your shirts say eat, sleep, bowl, repeat. We'll
strike.
Give away strike. Sorry. We will.
Well, and I think the way the Coolwick is set up now, there are different colors too. You just have to actually click on the t-shirt and there are different color options.
Well, we're going to give away this red one because I'm choosing. Okay. So we'll give away a red one. All you have to do is share out the show on Facebook. So if you're watching right now, hit the share button, share it out, and we'll pick somebody, and we will send you a Josie Barnes t-shirt. So when you are the person, there you go. Linda says, me. I need one with her face on it. When you're the chosen one, I will send you a message on Facebook to get your details about sizing and such. So let me know, but hit the share button. Let's get this out. And yeah, definitely. And then what's your Cool Wit code?
Oh, shoot. You would ask me that.
Okay, well, if you don't remember, just use Beef Stew 10.
Yeah. Like, you would ask me that.
But anyway, you can check out Josie's jerseys. Josie's one of the people who actually makes an effort to make a lot of different jerseys and stuff. So there's some cool ones up there. And then she's got her own line of clothes. So check that out. Like I say, coolwit.com. Let me just do this. I will put it in the chat right now. Let's see if it's working today. Yeah. So there it is. It's a really long one, but it's there with a lot of dashes. But yeah, click on the link, have a look, and yeah, let's get after it. Oh look, we've got our first person who says they shared it. Well, there you go, Barry. You'll be in with a chance.
I remembered it. It's PWBA Josie is my.
There you go. So for 10% off, you can use PWBA Josie.
There you go.
I think you should change that to JBBB 10.
JBBB. Okay. I think I can pull some strings.
Yeah, maybe you should text Cliff. Hey, I want to change it. It's going to be Big Bags 10.
Well, we have a final submission for an excuse. She wants to bowl with the younger Barnes now. So.
Well, bowling with a lefty could be useful.
Well, that one too. I was thinking the two-hander, but but yeah, I think left-hander is probably okay. So yeah, there we go. New shirt design.
Hire Linda.
Dusty says, "Let's hope not that many people share it. A better chance to win." Looks like it was decent. 100K Josie is another option. Chris, have you ever pitched a golf club?
Anybody who's played golf will know the answer to this question, whether they've ever seen me play or not. That's completely unreasonable to even assume.
All right, Chris, let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, thanks again, Josie, for coming on. Great. It was great to watch. I watched it beginning to end, and we were super happy and pulling for you. And it was, and your reaction, even with the mask on, the emotions shine through, and it was a great thing to watch. But thanks for joining us and going through all the steps that you have to go through with NCAA to come here and join our little troop. And with that being said, best of luck to your team this upcoming year. And once again, of course, they have one of the best coaches in the world. So all the best.
Thank you.
So we'd like for you to, if you get a chance, to support the sponsors that support us: Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Vice, Cool It, 3G Shoes, Bowler Smart, Mark Baker Bowling, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Platinum Ford, and Lightning Strikes. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later.